So if there's a department that has a young or maybe not well formed program, what advice do you have for those in that situation? How do they set up a good program that will protect their officers and hopefully help that municipality avoid ending up in the newspaper for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, and that's a really good. The way you put that is very good. Ending up in the newspaper for the wrong reasons, because a lot of times when we get called in, it's because either that's already happened,
Right.
or the chief recognizes, it happens somewhere else in my state, and I don't want to be the next one. So we actually, when we come in, we have a kind of a checklist that we go through to make sure that as we start administering the program, that these risk points are taken care of, so that there is a minimal amount of risk that's levied onto the department or the municipality. But in setting up a program, the areas that we tend to focus on are, number one is the insurance, which we talked about. It's just going through the checklist and making sure, if this happens, how are we covered? If this happens, how are we covered? And it could be, we have a ton of insurance that we utilize to cover the officers in the municipalities. The municipality has insurance, and the customer has insurance. And in many cases, we require the customers to send over a COI, a certificate of insurance, and we verify that they have, at least $1 million of liability or something like that to protect the individual officers. So there is sort of check boxes around the insurance. There's also internal questions of, and some of this I alluded to earlier, but how much are you going to allow officers to work in the extra duty capacity? Do you want to have guardrails around that? Does it make sense to have guardrails around time in between on duty and extra duty, either for a rest period to make sure somebody's not working 20 straight hours between the two, and or for travel time? If you're in a larger municipality and you're in, say, precinct number 4, and you're working at the Waffle House, that's on the other side of town, it could take you a half an hour to travel over there. So no way should you be saying that you're leaving your active duty post at 5 and starting the extra duty post at Waffle House also at 5. Not possible. The other area where we really focus internally is, how are you divvying up these jobs? So in smaller agencies or agencies where there's not a lot of extra duty, a lot of times there's just a sign-up sheet. Or in our case, we come in with technology, and officers can see via email or text what jobs are coming in, and they can sign up for them. And you can just do it first come, first serve, and that works out fine. But when you have an agency where there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of details, typically having some type of what we call fairness algorithm, and how these details are divvied up, either rotation list or point system, or there's millions of variations on these things, to make sure that the same 6 guys aren't getting all the details, usually is important. And
Mm-hmm.
along with that, you want to have transparency and simplicity in the way you're divvying up these details. We've had some departments that have come to us. We've asked them to explain, how do you schedule your details? How do you divvy them up? And they couldn't answer the question because nobody really understands it. And that, of course, leads to unfairness claims, or even up to union grievances,
Mm-hmm.
because it's unknown how this is done. And I always suggest having a great amount of transparency into the program. If I'm a sworn officer and I sign up for a detail and I didn't get it, why not tell me who got it and why they got it? Either they're higher on the rotation list than I am, or they haven't worked in the last 3 months and I worked 4 times in the last 3 months, or whatever the reason is. And that usually alleviates a lot of the headaches with the program. And then finally, I would address the administrative burden and the financial risk. Like, how is this being taken care of? If is the city okay with floating all that money to the customers? If how are the officers getting paid? Do you really want officers getting cash at the end of the night at the movie theater when everybody's walking around with a movie camera on their iPhones these days? Or do you want it sort of in another way, where the money is coming into the municipality or to us, the third-party administrator, and therefore the taxation is done correctly and everything's sort of buttoned up. And also, the guardrails around how much the officers are working and so on. So you want to sort of think through these things. It's like anything else in life. Before you sort of jump, you want to think, is the water going to be deep enough or am I about to die? And you want to just sort of think through these basic facets of programs where others have made mistakes